look at investment real estate through a different lens, through the lens of failure. This is not HGTV. Things don't always magically work out. Failure is gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, but most importantly, an amazing teacher. We have failed more than most have tried, but because of our failure, we have succeeded. These are the stories that have turned average real estate investors into the battle-tested superstars that they are today. Welcome to The Flipping Reality.
Hey, everybody.
This is take 72 of our first podcast of The Flipping Reality. Brian and Nico here. We are having some technical difficulties today. We don't normally have technical difficulties. It works pretty good. But we are here to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of investment real estate. Since 2017, we have flipped about 300 houses. And in that time, we've experienced a ton of stuff. We're not smarter than anybody. We've just experienced a lot. And through those experiences, we wanted to share a bunch of stories that we have that can help you avoid some of the pitfalls that we've kind of come across in this business. So in 2017, left corporate, bought my first two flip properties, and then had two partners in 2018. And we did a bunch of houses. We did a total of 42 houses in 2018, and then we separated from one of the partners that year. In 2019, Nicole joined us, and Nicole had been working. She owned her own cleaning business before, and at some point, she and I were in a house. She was going to clean it. She said to me, and I'll never forget this, "Brian, your jobs are always immaculate and perfect. I don't even know why I'm here."
Oh, here we go.
I thought it was something like that.
No.
Am I That's not right?
No. Do you want to tell the real story or you want me to?
You tell the real story.
I used to clean their flip houses for them, and it was at this one in Dearborn, and I showed up and it was never ready. There was always like material everywhere, and to have finished paint and stuff, it just wasn't ready for a cleaner. So Brian showed up that day, and I said, "You guys really need to hire a project manager that can come help you out. Too bad I'm not a dude."
And we talked about that. We're like, "Hey, Nico, first of all, like, we call you Nico. You're halfway there right now." But we realized that it turns out you don't need to be a dude in order to do this.
No, you don't. But at the time, I was young and just out of college, and I was like, but they called me maybe within a week later.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and here I am 6 years later.
Talked with my partner Todd, and he was like in love with the idea of Nicole doing this. Like, he identified it immediately, said Nicole is a rock star. And one of the things that has absolutely been the case has been the fact that she brings just a softer like tone and quality to her. Very what's the word, servant leadership that I'm looking for, and just kind of a different perspective from other dudes in the construction industry where it's like top down, like, heavy-handed, you do as I say type stuff. Nicole came in and instantly everybody loved her, and what she didn't know, she was super eager to learn, and you learn a lot. I remember she learned something about the bomb squad on your first day of work.
Yes, I did.
What did we find? I forget what that was.
First day, I think it was the first house we went into in Grosse Pointe. Oh, that's a house. Brian, we were walking through, and I'm not used to like the conditions of these houses at this point. And all of a sudden, Brian goes, "Go sit in the truck. Go sit in the truck. I'll be out in a second." And I'm like, "What? I go sit in the truck, and the whole time I'm like anxious, like, what the heck? He comes out and later tells me that he found a grenade in the house.
That's a God's honest truth, true story. And it was funny. I saw it, and I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of funny. It's a grenade right there." And then I'm like, "Wait, that's a grenade right there." Like, how do I know it's live or not live? So I had a friend who worked for the Detroit Police Department, homicide detective, and I called him, and we kind of like called around and tried to figure it out, and we realized that it was not in fact live, but that made for a crazy first day.
Crazy first day. We definitely should do an episode sometime about all the fun stuff we found in houses.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Before you started with us, there was a house that had an entire box of prosthetic arms.
At least they weren't real ones.
So we had prosthetic arms. We found all sorts of stuff, appropriate and non-appropriate stuff. So that was like 2019. Nicole joins us. Then 2020 hits, and that's COVID. So COVID hits, everything gets shut down, and we decided to work on the business instead of in the business, and that wound up being a really good use of our time.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on really nailing down scopes of work, budgets, where's the best place to buy certain materials, what's the best way to get it, how do we save money, how do we really put down a process.
So that wound up being wonderful, and that wound up being, once we came out of the COVID shutdown, that actually wound up being a good business year. And then 2021 comes, and we come across a house that's on the water in Metro Detroit, and it's like, this is a great house, and maybe we should turn it into a short-term rental.
Yeah, it was, everybody that walked into that house just fell in love with it. There was something about it that we just couldn't let it go.
So we decided to take a stab at doing short-term rentals. Myself and my family, my parents, my sister and her family, my brother and his family, we would always rent a house on a lake in Michigan for the end of summer. And if we didn't book it by like February, like we were having a hard time finding places. So when this house came up, I'm like, hey, I have a theory that this will do well. And then what we decided to do, we launched it, we loved it, and we wound up doing 8 like high-end waterfront short-term rental properties. And that business is a really good business. So we started doing that. That was starting in 21, and then we started adding them in 22 and 23. And so we started going down that path. Once we left 21 and we got to 22, something happened, and that something is inflation kicked in a big way for interest rates. So we started January 22 with interest rates around 3.22%, and then we got to October of 22 and interest rates got to 7.21%. So interest rates went up 60% during that year, and that was really the start of the frozen market. So over the next couple of years, like everything was frozen. People weren't buying, people weren't selling. They were just frozen, just staying where they were, which caused us to look inward and say, okay, if we can't buy and sell houses in the suburbs anymore, one of the big things that we needed, since we were doing a lot of volume, was inventory, and we needed to find houses. And one of the places for inventory is the city of Detroit. We had primarily done kind of everything. We had done a handful of houses in Detroit, but
this is a whole different world.
A little bit of a different world. So we started looking at Detroit, and one of the things, for anybody that's knows anything about this city, like there's a reputation that it has, but then there's a reality. And the reality is that, starting in 2010, Dan Gilbert moved all of his people at Quicken Loans, now Rocket Mortgage, moved all the people downtown to Detroit, started buying all of these skyscrapers, and he went on a skyscraper like spending spree, and he wound up owning 100 buildings down here, put billions of dollars into here, and really like built this area out. Some of the things that stand out is they're working right now on $1 billion skyscraper, the old Hudson's building downtown, and that's a Dan Gilbert thing. They're doing a $4 billion bridge that connects Detroit with Windsor, Ontario. That's right across. We're sitting in a neighborhood called Island View right now, and if you could drive straight across the Detroit River, we would be in Windsor in about 6 minutes. So it's like really close, but you got to go over the old Ambassador Bridge, which is like the #1 through point from the U.S. to Canada, or the Canada to U.S. The Canada is what I said.
The Canada.
They call it that.
Do they really?
Yeah, I mean, they're the Canadians, you know what I mean? They like saying stuff like the Canada. So now they're building a second bridge that's $4 billion. This bridge is like beautiful, but it's huge. They're putting in a $100 million park downtown.
Did I hear something? You're going to be able to walk across the new bridge?
I just saw something like that.
Like they're going to have a section for walking, biking, or driving?
I guess so. I literally just saw that.
Yeah.
So they're putting in a $2 billion hospital down the street from us. Ford Motor Company bought the old Michigan Central Station. It's now their like auto tech hub in Corktown, and that cost $1 billion. So there's like, the people are spending billions of dollars like it's monopoly money around here. But what's happening is it's creating this density, and that was Dan Gilbert's thing, is like, hey, we need to create density down here, and then once we have density, then what happens is people want to be down here, and then they want to live near down here. So the big thing for us is, like, we took a look at the first neighborhood north of downtown, which is Midtown, and like that's completely at capacity right now. The values have gone up through the roof. First neighborhood to the west of downtown, which is Corktown, that's at capacity. Ford Motor Company and their $1 billion train station is there. And then we looked at the first neighborhood to the east of downtown, which is Island View, which is where we decided to hitch our flag to, because we're looking at those two neighborhoods and we're seeing too many trends that are happening to where people want to be close to downtown. For anybody that knows the area, Belle Isle is right down the street over here. Belle Isle is like Central Park for Detroit. It was designed by the same person. It's big, it's beautiful, super popular in the summertime. So you're right by Belle Isle, you're right near downtown Detroit, you're right by this place called Eastern Market, which is a gorgeous market. So like there's a lot of stuff that caused us to want to be in Detroit, and very specifically in Island View.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have Indian Village down here, which is right next to Island View, and it's like one of the most historic neighborhoods in Detroit, right?
It's
so pretty too.
It is arguably the best neighborhood in all of Detroit. Big, beautiful, stately houses, well taken care of, and there's just a lot of like really good stuff. So our neighborhood that we're focusing on is like sandwiched in between Indian Village, super desirable, and downtown Detroit. So we got this really great pocket. There's a lot of opportunity here, which is why we're here. A lot of work to be done, but
we've been working here for 2 years now?
2 years.
Wow, that goes fast.
Yep, so we've done about 25 houses, and Nick, talk about coming from the suburbs. We were all over the place in the suburbs, making the move to Island View. Obviously there's a little hesitation.
Yeah, I was very nervous because when we worked in the suburbs, a lot of times it's just a different world in the suburbs, and I was kind of taught to be afraid of Detroit. So when they mentioned that we would be flipping in Detroit, I was like, I gotta find a new job. This is it. Which I was crying that day.
She literally told me, she's like, I can't work here anymore.
No, like I'm done. Like, a few things came into play. Old partner called me. We had a conversation about it. He's like, I promise you a year from now you're gonna be saying I don't want to work anywhere else. And then
there's that one guy that won't. There's a guy, he won't leave you alone.
My husband.
Oh, that's who it was. That's right. What did he do?
I was in the midst of a meltdown, and he's like, let's take a drive, get in the car. So we did, and he drove me down here to Island View, and we went up and down every block, and he's like, it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. So between that, the conversation with TC, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, but there's a few rules, not going into houses alone, always using the buddy system, not being here after dark, stuff like that. Long story short, here we are 2 years later, and I wouldn't want to flip anywhere else.
Yeah, this gives us, so over the course of time, that we started off doing grandma houses, 1,000 square foot brick ranches, 3 beds, 1 bath, basement, garage, super normal, very vanilla. You come in, you put in a kitchen, you put in a bathroom, you paint the house. They all kind of look the same, but it's where you start as a flipper. And then over the course of time, we started getting like bigger and more challenging projects. Our biggest project outside of Detroit was this 6,600 square foot house in Milford.
If you're not counting Lydia.
Lydia's a short-term rental. So that was different. So 6,600 square foot house in Milford as a flip. which we absolutely wish we would have kept as a short-term rental. Then we did a house in Howell that was 7,700 square feet or 7,000 square feet in Howell, and that was phenomenal. So we've taken on these big projects, and then we came to Detroit, and what we had to do is we had to take, like, the opportunity is to take houses that are like nasty, take them out of the studs and then rebuild them back up. A lot of times converting 2 families to single family homes, and then creating a lot of square footage. And we do that, and then there's a 3rd floor attic, which we usually convert to like usable space. Sometimes we have a bathroom up there. So like these big projects down here, and because of that, like, it's really forced us to raise our game.
Yeah, it definitely has. It was a learning curve in the beginning, for sure. But we get to create such a difference in the neighborhood, with the community. We've become friends with neighbors and our buyers, local like little restaurants and shops and stuff around here. So it's been great.
It's cool having like a community that we're around. People know us. Even when we don't know like the people, like we wave at everybody, you know, like you start to recognize people, feel more comfortable. But because of like the massive nature of this, Nicole, you were saying like we're not your average flipper anymore.
No. I can't think.
It's okay.
I can't think.
You can think. So sometimes what happens is Nicole will be like, Brian, you know so much.
Just take over. I'm cutting this out.
You know, you are not cutting this out. You know so much. You're so wise.
Okay, it came to me.
Oh, there we go. Let's see. I'll just keep talking until it comes around.
That's the end of the day, right? I don't want, one of the things that I'm like really strong about is I don't want to be like your average flipper. I do think like on TikTok and social media, a lot of flippers get bad reps, and I'm not saying all of them are like that, but when a buyer walks into one of our finished projects, I want them to feel like whoever did that project cared, and they put their heart into it and some thought behind all the decisions. And so that is what we do with every project down here. We don't want to just throw a house together and move on to the next one, because another reason is we're in this area constantly every day. So people, like we were saying, people know us. So if we put out a bad product and then they see us on a block over, you know, that starts to create talk within the community. So there's the big, my purpose is to put some heart and love into the houses.
Yeah, and you do a tremendous job of that.
And so do our crews.
1,000%, 1,000%. So that part is massive. And you know, so now over the course of time since we've been down here, we realize we're not flipping houses anymore. We are revitalizing a neighborhood. And now that has turned into a mission, and we've been looking for a mission for a long time. Todd called it a second purpose. Like, we've been looking for the second purpose, not just business, but like what else are we doing? And our goal is to make a long-term, you know, impact in Island View and the historic villages, which Nicole mentioned, which is Indian Village, which is not really a flippable neighborhood, not really. But there's East Village and West Village as well. So they're all kind of like in the same kind of group. So that's what we've really focused on, is like, how do we revitalize this neighborhood? How do we make an impact? And everything that we're doing right now is really focused on doing that. So now, because we're doing this neighborhood revitalization, the thing comes into place to where we're doing flip level expert when it comes to fixing houses. We've done flip level beginner, you know, intermediate, you know, advanced, and now we're at expert, and we're taking on the worst of the worst. And because of that, you know, kind of circling everything back to the very beginning, the flipping reality, we wanted to share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we've done so much, and we're not smarter than anybody. Trust me, just keep listening to what we have to say. We're not smarter than anybody, but we've experienced probably more than just about everybody. And because of that experience, we can share stories, and we think those stories are interesting. They could be a box of arms, they could be all sorts of all sorts of things that we can kind of talk about. But more importantly, you know, one, like, yeah, like there's some funny stuff in here, but two, there's a lot of educational stuff that we can talk about if you're flipping a house for the first time or the 73rd time. You know, we've experienced all sorts of things regarding break-ins, and most recently a fire at one of our properties, which we've never had before. And how do we handle it, and how do you mentally like deal with a lot of this type of stuff? Because
yeah, that's a huge part of it.
If you can't laugh, like our firehouse, like we were all pretty distraught, and you know, we were trying to like laugh through it, but it was pretty rough. We were 2 days away from handing the keys over to a family that was moving from Chicago who had sold their house and were buying our house. And then we had to let them know that most of the house burned, and that was horrible. It was horrible for everybody. And so that part wasn't good, but you know, but because of that, like we can share the stories of what we did, how we got through it. So our goal with this podcast is to be able to say, take our previous projects. Nicole and I plan on just kind of picking a project, talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly, which, you know, the ugly we call a donkey. And we'll kind of dive into all the donkeys of the projects that we've had, and just share those with you. And every house is really interesting. Every house has all three of those.
Yeah.
And we are, you know, we're matching that with social media to where we're putting out like posts of, you know, before and after pictures and everything. That you just posted the before and after of Pepto.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Like the in process one was really cool. You did a really nice job.
Just
with
a side note, we nickname all of our projects to keep them straight. So each house will have a nickname.
So we're down here. There's only like, you know, a certain number of streets, and so you start doing addresses, you kind of forget. So every house has, you know, Big Nasty, Pepto, Foundation, like Lemon Lime, MSU,
Canton Cola,
yes.
Happy Helen.
So we do that, and it's nice. It kind of keeps everybody in order. But our goal really is to be able to kind of take these past projects, share a bunch of learnings, you know, good, bad, and ugly, of the learnings of everything. And hopefully, you know, like have some laughs doing it, but at the same time, most importantly, like if you're working on stuff, like help you save money, or at least feel like you're less on an island.
Yeah.
Because in this social media landscape, everybody feels like when something goes sideways, you know, because, you know, I'm looking at Instagram and TikTok and look how wonderful everything is out there. You know, I call it fake book, and what gets put out there is really like the best version of everybody's like business. And the reality is every single day of the business is really challenging.
Really challenging.
You know, you take used houses and imperfect people working on them, because we're all imperfect, and you combine that together, and it's crazy. It's really difficult. It's not easy, and we don't want you to feel like just because something went sideways, now you're the only idiot that this has happened to. You are not alone. I promise you. Unfortunately, we are idiots with you. So, but just kind of keep tuned in to what we got going on.
Yeah.
We got a full slate of houses and adventures and good, bad, and uglies and donkeys coming your direction.
Yes, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, and reach out if you have any questions.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.